Okay, we've developed our original content, and now we need to start adding stuff to the score. But before we do that, the first thing we need to do is to set our default sprite span to 1. And if you'll remember, we do that by going to File, Preferences, Sprite, and we set our span duration to 1. It's already set to 1, so that's okay, but that's one of the things that you want to do when you start out is make sure your span duration is set at 1. We say OK. Next, let's set our frame rate to 60 frames per second, and we do that by clicking in the first available cell in the tempo channel and setting this to 60. We say OK. Now most machines won't play our movie that fast, but we want the screen to redraw as quickly as possible. And so this will ensure that it redraws as quickly as the machine will allow. Now we're ready to start adding our cast members to the score in the first frame. The first thing we should probably add is our stoplights. And they're available in our Make Matches cast. They come with the behavior. Okay, and we want to add those to our score. And we must add them in a particular place. We have to add, first of all, we have to add the dimmed members. That's what we start out with. And we're going to take the green light dimmed cast member, and we're going to drag it into the first frame in channel 4. It's important that this go in channel 4 in order for the matching and everything to work, okay? So you drag this into channel 4, and let's position it so that it's in the upper left-hand corner, which it is now. All right. And then we have to drag our red light dimmed cast member into the next channel, 5. And again, it's important that this go in 5. So green light dimmed must go in 4, red light dimmed must go in 5. Once we have it in the 5th channel, we can move it into the upper right-hand corner. Okay. All right, we want to add a background behind these two stoplights. We don't have to, but it just makes it look prettier when we have this stoplight background cast member designed for that purpose. And we, of course, want it to go in an earlier channel than 4 and 5 because we want it to be behind our lights. So we drag that into 3, and we position it so that it is behind our stoplights. And if I click off of it, that looks pretty good. Okay, now we want to specify what these lights are up on our top of our stage. So we want to drag our labels on top of this background, and so we're just going to add that to our next available channel. So we're going to add right label so that it goes next to the green light, and we'll put the wrong label in 7 there. And now let's make sure these are aligned correctly. This is something that I haven't shown you. If you select the one object on the stage and then hold down the Shift key and select another object on the stage, and then go to Modify, Align, and we can align these objects using this tool. And I want to align the, I don't know, centers maybe. Say Align. And I guess they already were aligned, so it didn't really do much. But that's how you would make sure that they were aligned in the same on the same axis. In our next channel, channel 8, we're going to add our Start Over button. We can just drag that on top of the black background there, and put it in the center, and it automatically goes in channel 8 there. Of course, we don't have to use the Start Over button that we have with the Make Matches cast. We can use a bitmap that you designed. Anything that you can click on will suffice, but for now we're just going to use the Start Over button because it's the easiest to use at the moment. Okay, now that we have this stuff at the top, we're going to start adding our matching bitmaps. I'm going to sort of move the score over a little bit here. And I'm going to start adding the matching bitmaps starting at channel 10. And of course, the matching bitmaps are in our internal cast. And they are the square bitmap, the circle bitmap, and the composite bitmap. And we're going to want to put them over on the right-hand side of our stage. So I'm just going to move that aside. And first of all, I select channel 10, just to leave a little space between these, help me delineate where things are. Channel 10, I'm going to drag the square bitmap onto the stage. That there. Next one, 11, I'm going to add there. And finally, well, actually, let's make the use the matte there to get rid of the white. All right. Now I'm going to add the composite bitmap. All right. Now notice my registration point is off on this composite bitmap. My registration point is up here, so that when I drag it, I see the registration point over to the upper left of the actual image. So I'm going to straighten that out by double-clicking on the bitmap and double-clicking on the registration point tool, which centers the registration point. Okay, now when I drag it, it's where it should be. And I'm going to set this to background transparent. Okay, we've added our matching graphics here, okay? And for the square in the circle here, that will work fine, because when we drag our sort of draggable object on top of either of these, it will know whether it's over a circle or a square, because it will be within the bounding box of this square and this circle cast member. But that won't be the case with the composite image. Suppose we drag square over here. How does it know that we've dragged it over the part of the composite image that is the square, or over the part that's the circle? To Director, this is all one image. It doesn't know that there's a square or a circle there. So in order to get an appropriate response from dragging an object on top of the composite picture, we need to delineate regions of the composite bitmap that will respond when the user drags something on top of that region. We want there to be appropriate feedback when the user drops a draggable object over the circle part of the bitmap, and when the user drops a draggable object over the square part of the bitmap. So to do this, we create hotspots on top of the composite image using simple shape cast members. We select the next channel in our score, and we open up our tool palette. And what we're going to do is draw a simple shape on top of our composite image, one for the square and one for the circle. All right, and that's going to serve as sort of our hotspot region. So we select our rectangle tool, and we don't want this simple shape to be visible. We just want it to be there to serve as something that we can drag on top of. All right, we don't want it to disturb our underlying picture. So if we set the line width to 0 here, and we draw over this square, then we are creating a hotspot for the rectangular part of our composite image. We do the same thing for our circle. We select the next channel in the score, and then we draw a rectangle over the circle. And it's not exactly perfect, but it's probably good enough. Okay, and now we have regions that will respond when we drag something over them. All right. So if we drag over this circle, or the simple shape that's on top of the circle in our composite image, we'll get appropriate feedback. Now you may be asking yourself, well, why not use a circle simple shape on top of this circle part of our bitmap as the sort of region? Well, the problem is that it's going to respond to the bounding box of the shape, not to the shape itself. And the bounding box for a circle simple shape is a rectangle anyway. So it doesn't matter whether we use a circle or a rectangle. So I'm just going to use a rectangle um, to serve as the hotspot. All right, now we have our matching shapes and regions. All right, and what we have to add next is the text and field cast members and our small circle bitmap that we're going to serve as our draggable objects that we drag on top of these things. All right, and I'm going to add these starting in frame 20 again, just to make it make it clearer where things are in our score. It doesn't really matter where we put them, although we do want them to be below our matching objects in the score because we want them to be on top of them when we drag on top of them. Okay, but I'm just putting it in 20 to make sure that it's that I can see the difference between the matching regions and the draggable objects. So let's take our circle and let's drag that into 20. Okay. So we have our circle, and we can move this over to the side and set it to be background transparent. I can take my square and drag that over 21, and I can move that down below the circle, and again set it to background transparent. And then finally I'm going to add this little circle, which will also be a draggable object. And I'm going to, now if you'll notice, the registration point is way over here, not there. So I want to set the registration point to be at the center of this object. So I'm going to double click on my bitmap, and I'm going to double click on the registration point tool here to center the registration point. It is important that the registration point be at the center of the bitmap, or else the matching may not center over the other object. So we have our circle now. So we have all of our draggable objects, and we have all of our matching objects. In the next section, we'll start adding the interactivity. It makes it so that when we drag these the small circle and the circle and square labels on top of these things, they'll actually behave interactively and respond.